Okay, today I'm here to talk about Property Inspector 2.0. It's a new program available on the LabVIEW Tools Network. Version 1 came out 2 years ago, and this is a major update. I was talking to a developer at the Bay Area user group who said his specialty was being more efficient than the other programmers in the room. Today I'm going to talk about a utility that becomes your personal assistant for helping you get more done in less time. The agenda today is I'll do a brief introduction about myself. I'll talk about a historical project, which was the inspiration for this utility. I'll talk about the limitations of the LabVIEW Project Explorer. I'll compare it to 2 other development environments. Then I'll explain the new approach to Project Explorer. I'll hit the top features in 4 categories: search, edit, delete, and the best new one, expandability. Then I'll demo 25 plus uses. I'll show how you can do thousands of edits. I have a sample project, 1,700 plus objects. Don't worry, we're only going to focus on the top 1,500. We'll look at all 24 properties. During this entire presentation, I will open one VI. Then there'll be a benefit summary. So I started ABCDF in 1995. I have 30 years experience in custom test equipment. My last company, I worked 9 years for an older gentleman. He was very slow to adopt new technologies. So I started my company with the belief that I would be more efficient in what I do. I'm a Microsoft certified professional for Visual Basic. Other languages include Visual Basic for Excel and Lab Windows. I mentioned Altium Designer here because it comes up in a later slide. So in 2009, I was asked to write an instrument driver for an Agilent communication test set with over 1,000 SCPI functions. Customer just wanted a full driver that would do everything the instrument did. So I started digging through the manual on it, and luckily the manual was available on the internet. So I systematically scraped all of the functions off the internet and organized them all in Excel. This is my document for how I was going to design the driver. And as I did this, I realized that once I had all of this, I didn't want to have to code all of this by retyping any of this stuff. I wanted to take this information, get it straight into my VIs automatically. Since I was already able to program in VBA, I used Visual Basic to control VI Server to generate VIs. I should also mention that because this was before LabVIEW 2009, I automated Photoshop to generate the icons. The result was that I was able to make a driver with 400 VIs, with the automatic part of it being probably 60 to 70% of the work. All of the names of the inputs were all handled. They were all tip strips based upon the ranges specified in the documentation. All of the description was from the manual, and my signature was added to every VI. So when I work with Project Explorer now, I try to figure out ways that I can automate what I'm doing when I'm working on groups of VIs. And I find it's very difficult to do that with Project Explorer because it doesn't really allow you to edit properties in groups the way you can in front panels. In LabVIEW 2009, you could edit multiple front panels by selecting them all together and editing the common properties. And I always thought that would show up here for VI properties. So I wrote my own. The problem here is that when you're trying to figure out what you want to edit, you have to figure out how you can get the objects you need to select without having to dig through them manually. Also, I'm surprised you can't view date modified on this diagram because it's common in LLVs, but that's never been added to this window. Also, this doesn't allow you to find broken VIs. I can't identify VIs in older LabVIEW versions. When I select multiple VIs like I did here, the option to select properties disappears. It's there if you select a single VI. Now, if you're searching for VIs, searching is only done by name. Also, from this window, you cannot delete VIs on the disk. It simply will not do it. So now I'm going to talk about two other programs that I use going back 20 years. One is Visual Basic for Excel. It has always had a property window that appears next to the code so that you can click on something and see all the properties. It's always available. You can click on something and edit it, and all properties are visible at the same time. Very quick, very efficient, and I've gotten accustomed to using that. Now, this is a printed circuit board editor. Again, a completely different application. But this also has a PCB inspector, which is available for both the PCB and the schematic. It allows you to see all the properties together. If you select on multiple objects, it shows you which objects are common, like the ones that are hole size here 0, and which ones are not. But you can still edit anything that's not common by editing right here, and it changes all of them all at once. This program also has natural language search, where you can actually type a query as a combination of items. If you're working on a circuit board with thousands of items, you want to be able to find exactly what you're looking for without having to dig for it. LabVIEW, on the other hand, has a VBA Properties dialog that pops up with a single keystroke. None of this information is searchable, with maybe the exception of description. You have to pick a category. So if you're lucky, you can click something, hit OK. If not, you pick a category, click something, hit OK. If you're unlucky, you have to open a sub-dialog and navigate through that and pick something and hit OK maybe twice. This also is limited to one VI at a time. So my approach to the Project Explorer is to have a property inspector that allows you to see all of your properties. Well, not all of them. There's 24 here. And they're all available in parallel with your project. You can pick on these, and you can edit them by category. You can search them in very flexible ways, and you can sort them. And sorting allows you to find stuff that's impossible to find any other way. So some of the things we can do here is we can search VI description. Now, VI description, you can search through other mechanisms, but because we're searching it uniquely, we can search for things like wildcards. We can also search for it being blank. We can also look for binary settings like allow debugging or reentrant enabled. We can also look at numeric settings like LabVIEW version. That's something that you can't see in the project window. We can also search and sort VI metrics, data size, execution state. That enables you to find all the VIs in your project that are bad. You can identify all the VIs in your project that are in memory. You can also separate VIs by type. You can also sort by revision number if that yields anything of interest. The new features in version 2 include password protection, which you can set and clear. You can identify automatic error handling if it's on or off. You can also find the date modified and whether or not the VI has been modified. You can now select objects by type, and you can sort by any column. So in order to make this more powerful, we have the ability to do powerful string manipulation. So instead of just finding and replacing, you can simply replace the match like you would normally. You can also find something and then prepend it, or you can append something to the end of it, or you can choose to replace the whole thing. Even though you found a small piece, you can say, okay, I want to replace the whole thing with something new, or something LabVIEW will not let you do, remove. Find and replace, will not, remove. You can also reset values like revision history. You can adjust all the Boolean settings that are provided. You can reset the revision number. You can clear a runtime menu to not a path. And another thing find and replace will not do. And you can set and clear password protection. So I'm going to show it to you now. Here I have a customer project. This was written in 2009, 1,700 objects. This was open when I opened Property Inspector. It asked me if I wanted to use the project, and I said yes. So it shows here that there are 1,710 items, and it took 5 minutes and 10 seconds or so to parse all of the properties of all these VIs. Now, just to show that everything is included, we'll just compare the two windows. And it's pretty much one for one. Everything that's on the left is on the right. Now we'll also look all the way to the right to show what other options are available. And we'll come back here. Now, if we look in this right-hand column here, there's this item called Runtime Menu. Now, none of these are being used in this current project because this was a runtime menu that was done for a previous customer, and that file is missing. I discovered that by finding it in my dependencies. Now, if you find that in the dependencies, it shows a list, but that list comes in multiple categories because they are in multiple locations. And it doesn't allow you to select all those at once. Those find results are all independent. You can go to each one and try to fix it from there. Now, I'm going to change a setting here just for convenience. I'm going to sort these columns in the setting order. That's going to push my runtime menu over here where I can see it. Now, I'm going to search for a runtime menu. Now, I'm not looking for anything specific here. I want to know, is it not blank? 70 VIs have a custom runtime menu that doesn't exist. I'm going to select all here. And I'm not going to delete them. I'm going to remove. This is going to remove the property that I've selected. Now, this is not a typical scenario that anyone would run into. The reason I demonstrate it here is because this is a property that's not in the pop-up dialog. You actually have to open each VI, edit the runtime menu. Oops, it says it's not available. You have to acknowledge OK, then close the editor. From there, it says, do you want to go back to the default menu? And you say yes. From there, you have to save the VI and close the VI. So this is an 8-step process to set one VI property that you'd have to do for all 70 VIs. Now, if you're pretty proficient, I'm saying you could probably do this in maybe 35 to 40 minutes. But there's no reason why you wouldn't try to do something like that automatically. This was something that I came across when I first had the thought of using this other code that I had and bringing it into this project to automate this process. Once you have all of the VIs categorized where you can select them, you can just run one sequence to make that change. So this took over a minute. So now I'm going to demonstrate other features which I've pre-programmed in the utility because I think they're a good starting place. Description starts with use this template too. So I'm going to turn this back off here. Okay. Use this template to build a VI. If I was developing this for a customer, this is not something I would give them in my final product. So this is something I would have to either remove or replace with something else. So it's 147 VIs. I'm not going to edit that here. I'm just going to demonstrate that I could select all and I could remove it. Or if I wanted to, I can select VIs in categories, enter a standard description, and replace it with something that might be suitable for all of these. Now, this is showing just some of the results. I can turn filter off, get back, and see more of the results, and I might apply a description to all of these. Here I'm looking at all the VIs that have a description that's blank. LabVIEW cannot find a description that's blank. So there's 1,400 plus VIs. This might be something I want to go back and try to edit something, maybe in batches, take something in there for my customer. Allow debugging. Almost 1,200 VIs have allow debugging turned on. That's something that LabVIEW won't tell you if you're running this thing in the editor. And yet we all know that code would be more efficient if we were able to turn that off. Here, I could select all, I could choose remove, and turn that off for all VIs. Also, if I wanted to compare, I could run my code with it turned off, and then choose to come back to this window with the same VI still selected and turn it back on. Or I could just choose to do it one VI at a time as required. Execution state bad. That is another thing that LabVIEW cannot find for you. These are all VIs in your project that are bad. Over 100. Data size greater than 100K. Now here, I'm going to further click on this column so I can sort the data size. This particular VI has a data size of 500 megs, and this VI has not been run. So this is different than what you might get if you were running this code and looking at it in the usual profiler. This is actually content that's been stored on disk. Now, I did discover this had a large data array on the front panel. That was also detected by VI Analyzer. But VI Analyzer gave me the same thing for a bunch of VIs, but didn't quantify how serious the condition was. It's clear here, that's the one I should focus on. When I took that data out, my EXE dropped by about 3 megs. So this is VI version less than 12. 278 of my VIs have a VI version that's less than 12. So this project was opened up and in 2012 and did save all. These are VIs that are all obsolete. They've not been used. Now, granted, they could be called dynamically. They could also be in a conditional case structure. But going back to 8.5, 7.1, they're probably not being used.
There's a 6 in there. 6.1, yes.
So in memory, now some of these conditions overlap. If I'm finding stuff that's not in memory, it's typically going to be the older stuff. So I'll demonstrate that in a little bit. So here we have reentrant. I can find all the VIs that are reentrant. Now further, I can come here and I want to find a reentrant type. Starts with pre. Here, I'm going to search in. We have 175 items. Now we're down to 67. These 67s all have both reentrant on and reentrant pre-allocate. Now, some of this was written back early on before shared pre-allocation was available. So this might be something you want to revisit to find out if these can be upgraded, probably on a one-by-one basis. Again, that's not something LabVIEW can find for you. Here, we're just going to search date modified, just to show that we can. This is all items less than 2,000. We can also sort, find out what is the oldest code, what is the newest code. A lot of these things are not VIs, so they don't really have dates. And while I'm at it, let me show you one other important thing. Here we have the object types we found in this project. So I'm going to get rid of some of these that don't really apply. I don't want to see the folders, configurations. I'm going to get rid of some of this other stuff. I don't need to see the classes. Property definitions are shown separately, and class private data shown separately. These are all the columns. They're selectable individually. I've done the runtime menu. Doesn't exist. Let's get rid of some of the other stuff. block diagram, front panel. I'm just going to show you how you can see the objects you want with only the properties you want, so you can focus on what's most important to you. And I'm going to go back to my slideshow. I mentioned earlier that LabVIEW will not delete VIs from the project. If they are in virtual folders, you can remove them from the project, but they remain there. If they're in auto-populating folders, LabVIEW says, you really need to go explore this. Find it yourself. Delete it and then come back. If they're in LLBs, it's even worse. Explorer takes you to the LLB. You have to open it. You have to go find the file, delete it, close that, and come back. I'm going to demonstrate that too. Now, here I have a history of all the functions I've done so far. I'm going to go back to in-memory is false, 491 items. I'm going to combine that with a LabVIEW version less than 12. I'm further going to combine that with an execution state bad. This is a combination of all three conditions. There are 83 items, old, obsolete, not being used. Now, if we look at the path of these are all in different LLBs. If I had to delete these from the project, I'd probably have to find them one at a time, open each LLB, and try to figure out which ones are where. I'm going to do this all at once right here. Now, there's a warning here. If it's an auto-populating folder, it will be deleted from disk. And you can choose whether or not you want that.
So this is when we say you need to still have source code control, right?
Yes. If you want it back, that's probably the best way to get it. So less than 15 seconds, 83 items from about a dozen locations, all deleted. There's no way to do that in LabVIEW. Back to my slides. Now, the best new feature is I've included both VI scripting and quick drop shortcuts. Now, I wrote a VI to demonstrate the VI scripting capability, and the very next day I was looking on the quick drop community, and I saw someone wrote the same VI. And I thought, wow, I should support that. I wouldn't have written any code. So I provide the link here. The reason there's a dialog here is because quick drop scripting is normally done interactively. You'd normally pop it up on either the front panel or the block diagram, and you'd have something selected. And you may be holding shift if you want to multiply the effect, and there may be some text you have to type depending upon what the function is. So there's a dialog here that allows you to set those options. So I'm going to demonstrate that. Let's turn this off. Go back to sorting by name. Okay, I'm gonna, now sort by includes all the options here. I'm gonna go back to unsorted. I'm gonna make sure that I'm ascending. Oops, didn't do that right. Okay, so this is the same native mode of the project. Okay, so I'm going to open one VI. Bring it over here. So there's nothing wrong with this VI. This was just written by someone who did not use the grid. Now, I'm one of those few people that uses the grid all the time, so I like to see stuff aligned to the grid. One of my favorite quick drop shortcuts is the one that takes the connector pane and it aligns all of the controls according to the connector pane. So I'm going to select Quick Drop File. On my other computer. Okay, so this automatically goes to my Quick Drop Plugins folder for the LabVIEW that I'm running. Align to connector pane is the shortcut. I still have the VI selected, and I'm going to run it. This is going to apply to the front panel, no shift, no text. 0.6 seconds. And here's my VI. Now, I only ran this on one VI, but I could easily run it on dozens, hundreds, even thousands. It would certainly be best to avoid the front panels of VIs that are user interfaces. That would be a problem. I'll also look at the block diagram. Nothing special going on here. Again, I'm going to run a utility here that is just another quick drop shortcut. Move to origin. It's something you could run on any number of VIs. But it's just a sample of what can be done. For this to work, I have to select not front panel active. Okay, 0.3 seconds. So we just moved it to the origin. This had a default of 8 pixels from the origin, but because I used the grid, I modified that VI for 16. Now, we also have a sample template for VI scripting. This is just a very basic example of something you could take and do whatever you want. There's no restrictions here. I pass you a VI ref, and you could just perform any modifications. Maybe something related to code generation. I will demonstrate one of those. This is just one I wrote for myself. I was publishing my utility and thought, I think I'll hide the front panel controls. So I wrote a VI that would hide all of the controls that didn't start with the word error. And there you go. This can be done on any number of VIs. In my utility, I ran it on hundreds of VIs. I categorized my VIs in ways that allowed me to search for keywords and isolate the ones I wanted to perform this on. We support the standard functions of open and run, same as it is for a standard project window. One other function I like, I'm not going to demonstrate it here, but it's close open windows. If I select 20 VIs and choose to open them, I can dig through them and then come back here, and it will close all of the windows I opened together all at once. Now, there weren't any errors, but if there were, there would be an error dialog that would pop up and show the specific errors that occurred. I've run into problems like VIs are locked, or they're running, or they're in an invalid state, where you try to modify the controls on a connector pane, and it's a control, and it says, no, you can't do that.
Michael, can you stop VIs that are running, like the typical fact where we have to go and close the entire project because there's a VI that's running that cannot be aborted?
Yeah, so over here where it says idle, these VIs are in memory but idle. If it was running, it would tell you here.
Yeah, but can you abort it from here?
No, I cannot do that. Also, we have the capability
of
opening.
I think you could do it as a script. It just, I just was wondering because I have a VI that I think Darren has me.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So I run into that common problem where I have modal dialogues, and I edit it and I forget to close it and I open my top level and the modal dialog comes to the front.
Yeah.
So I have a VI script that finds those and closes those. I mean, that would be a great way to close VIs that are running, is to do that with the VI server.
Yeah, I mean, I have a VI like that. I was just wondering, when I saw the exact state, I was like, oh, you can stop them.
Yeah, so I use this utility when developing this utility, and sometimes I accidentally open the project I was editing, and all my VIs were running. So it wouldn't let me do it very much there. So you can open a project. You can open just a LV Lib or a LV class. Other features, you can save selected, or you can save everything in the window. That's kind of another thing that LabVIEW doesn't let you do. You can certainly see what needs to be saved, and you can save all when you're exiting, but you can't selectively find what's been modified and save 100 of them at once. Also, exporting the results takes what you see in this window and puts it to a spreadsheet file in case you want to document some function like the VIs that you just deleted. You want to make a record of it. We have the capability of saving that, and it looks just like this in Excel. The history is just the things we ran. You can clear the history. Search on select enables you to execute these with just a single click without having to go back and pick it and then hit search. The back next buttons are great if you want to go through them one at a time and edit descriptions. If you've modified something like with the scripting and it doesn't show something like a date modified, you can refresh it. It'll go out there and read all of the properties for all the VIs you've selected. It's great to be able to sort by LabVIEW version, sort by revision. I'm not sure what you'd want to discern from that, but it's clear to see where all of the time was spent on this project. And history text is something that you can also find. We did not do that here, but you can search for it not being blank. You could erase it if you choose quickly and easily. I will go back and show a password. Okay, so this is the VI I opened up. I'm going to do protection. I'm not going to search for it. I'm just going to replace it. And I'm going to set it to something here. 0.2 seconds. And there we go.
Any questions, guys?
What's the question?
I'm asking if there are any questions back there or comments. No questions?
Now I'll choose remove, and it's been removed. We also support the password protection that doesn't use a password, where you lock it but don't enter any text. You just have it locked, but it can be unlocked without a password. So let me show you one other thing here. It's always nice to be able to work on VIs and not controls. So if you're running scripts like the one I just ran on the connector pane, it sure is a nice convenience to not be bothered with trying to skip over the controls. You want to see VIs without controls. That's another thing that LabVIEW doesn't really have any capability of filtering what you see in the project. There's a lot of stuff there, and you can expand and collapse, but you can't see just a subset of everything that's in there. If I wanted to go back and see just controls, how many controls are in my project? How many VIs are in my project? How many globals are in my project? This is a great filter function that allows you to focus on something very specific. These are all the documents that exist in my project. It'd be very hard to find these any other way. Any questions?
So earlier somebody asked me, what's the license? Is it like a perpetual license, or how does this work?
That's a perpetual license per one machine. I think it's you have to purchase one per machine. So these are the top features. You can select the columns you want to see. You can select the object types you want to see. You can search in searches to get very fine results. You can sort by any of the columns. History of last 9 searches, whatever it is that you're doing, you'll probably want to do that again and again. You can open and run selected files just like in the other Project Explorer. Option to save and close is provided. I didn't show this, but there's an option to trim descriptions. That was an option that someone asked for. When you're editing descriptions, you want to add a signature. You want to make sure your signature appears with the proper spacing and not varies by extra blank lines. So this will trim the description before the text is added. And you can export the results to Excel. So these are the benefits. You can edit multiple VIs. You can very flexibly edit the VI descriptions, set or clear many settings on multiple VIs. You can remove bad settings on all occurrences, very quickly delete VIs from multiple locations. It's very expandable with both VI scripting and quick drop plugins. You can also use just the analysis features here to quickly find things based upon modification date, memory, pick out the older versions, or just locate bad VIs. So it's currently available. It's on the Tools Network. 30-day unlimited full featured trial. And that's it.
Yeah.
How does having list of VIs?
If you talk louder, you might be able to hear.
Yeah, this is Chris. How does having this list of VIs affect their behavior? What I mean is, if I have this list and it's got a whole bunch of VIs inside it, is the VI reference kept open continuously?
Did you hear the question?
Yeah, so I mean I do keep a reference open to every VI. One thing I need to point out is the VIs that were shown in a previous LabVIEW version were not opened. If the VI was in memory, I accessed it directly. If it wasn't opened, I accessed it through a property called VI no load. So my program does hold open references to all the VIs in the project. But I think so does the project window.
No, Darren is saying no. Darren was nodding either. But I guess the project window just looks on the
Yeah, when you open
XML.
a project, any class VIs, I believe, are loaded into memory, and their dependencies, but regular library VIs and non-library VIs are not loaded into memory unless you open them or they are in dependencies.
Yeah, so I do systematically go through and open a reference to everything except for the VIs that are older. In this case, I don't actually load them in memory. I keep a reference, but that reference is not to a VI in memory.
So how do you handle missing VIs? Meaning, if you load one VI in memory, it loads sub-VIs, what if you can't find where the sub-VIs?
So the execution state for that shows up as invalid. And you won't see a date modified on it, because I wouldn't be able to parse that.
Okay, I didn't know if that was going to hang your UI while it was searching for VI.
No, it has pretty good error handling. It tries the best it can to read as many properties as it can. Some properties can't be read for whatever reason, and they're just not displayed.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, if you try to run this on a project that's running, it shows very little about it. I mean, it'll get as far as the execution state, but almost nothing after that.
Any other questions from the audience? Remote? We have people from Japan and most places in the U.S. All right, going once.
I should point out that this does not replace the project window because there's still a lot of things like adding VIs or adding classes or changing inheritance that would all need to be done through the project window. This is really just a companion VI that would sit alongside and just give you an alternate view with automation capabilities.
It seems like for cleanup of a project, it will be really good.
Sure.
All right. Anything else? No? Thank you so much, Michael.